Okay, so this is my first, what I'm calling, I guess it's not technically a scratch build, but it's my first build, and my first time working with paint, and I call it the Angry Bird Express, just because it seemed to kind of come together like that, and I found an Angry Bird sticker to put on the windshield. But at any rate, I thought I would go over some of the modifications I made. This is the base of it is a Hobby Zone Super Cub, and you know, what a great experience. This plane continues to amaze me. I had one as my first plane. My wife bought it, and it was an RTF, so it came with the transmitter and everything. It was a lot of fun to fly. I very quickly, because I have a history of flying helicopters, was ready to move up a notch. So I added ailerons and so forth. And I've got a couple of videos out there going over my first plane and the modifications and sort of my learning curve related to building and flight characteristics. But after that, I decided I would take a move. I was flying my last Super Cub and had plenty of altitude and decided to do a loop. What I didn't know is I didn't have enough altitude over the building that was beside the field, and I completely lost my airplane. So I saw it as an opportunity. I bought a Decathlon from Hobby King, and had mixed reviews. It was an okay flying plane. It was smaller than the Super Cub, and it required a lot of modifications. I believe I've got a video posted with some of those, but there was a lot I didn't add in that video just to get it to fly. It was very tail heavy and so forth. So taking the experience of the Decathlon, the experience of my first Super Cub, and decided to apply what I learned in this plane, which is a modified Super Cub, and it is a brushless motor. First time I've done that with the propeller, and I didn't get too crazy on a learning curve there. I went to eBay and found a great kit. It's a 1000 kV motor with the prop. It comes with the ESC. It's all wired together and worked really well. Kind of a design for this plane. Not going to be crazy power, but it certainly should be better. And I've run it around the driveway just to taxi it. Nice and quiet, smooth, does a great job. And I've got a video overviewing the electronics in the plane out there as well if you want to look that up on my channel. But as far as the structure goes, I did remove the dihedral. I'm getting better every time. This is the third wing I've removed the dihedral on a Super Cub with, and I've really got it down to a science. Single strap of tape on the underside of the wing. After kind of over bowing it a bit, and then the tape allows it to relax back to flat once you get that just right, and you get a flat wing. And then I went back with the old bamboo barbecue skewers instead of carbon fiber. They're handy, they're cheap, and I used those. Dug a groove, reinforced it, glued it heavy, and that wing's not going anywhere. It's going to be flat for the rest of its life. Added ailerons, which I did on the previous two planes. First one not quite so successfully. This is a nice big aileron. I guess it's 15 inches, I guess 14 inches long, 1 3/4 inches deep. This one is not as good as that one. Nice and neat, so you can see it gets better and better. One thing I did different than my last plane is the last one, I made these are hot glue hinges, but I put the hot glue hinge on the top of the plane, and it worked very well. It's a fantastic hinge, but you can see some bubbling up from the heat. It did sort of disfigure the surface of the foam. So what I did here, and I got this off of the video from Flight Test, where they modified a Super Cub. You fold your aileron back on top of the wing, put your hinge in the middle between the wing and the aileron, and it kind of hides it up pretty nicely. So you can see some little bumps there where the hinges are, but overall, very impressed with this technique. The hinges are very loose and flexible, so the servos aren't having to work very hard. Just very, very nice. So I've got my Hobby Zone sticker, and I put the numbers on there. I got the decal. It's actually, I think it's an automotive or a motorcycle flame. Just thought it was kind of cool. Very, very nice sticker as far as the detail and so forth. Went on without a hitch. As far as prep for the paint, what I did was I prepared the surface. I had to get the release agent off of the wing that they use to make sure the foam releases from the form. Used 91% alcohol. Rubbed it down really good, and I did test it before I went to that effort, and the paint did not stick very well. So after doing that, it stuck pretty well, and then I went back with a medium grit sandpaper, and just did a good job of roughing up and taking out some of these little, I don't know what they are, foam release points or whatever, were a lot more raised. So I took those and really sanded it down, roughed up the surface. The paint sticks fantastic. What I use, and I tried several different techniques and several different paints. The best, as far as a base coat at least, wound up being high gloss interior home paint. I think I used a Glidden or a Sherwin-Williams, I don't know, but what I did was I put it on really thin. And I used 3 coats. So the first coat just looked barely yellow, and then it kind of got darker and darker until I had a good coat. That created a really nice finish. I'm extremely happy with it, and then I used decals. I could have gone back, and I do have some frog tape or whatever, the painter tape that doesn't hold too tight. So I was thinking about going back and maybe adding some secondary colors or detail. But anyway, for now, this is a good plane. And I'm pretty happy with the yellow. Wish it was a little darker. We'll see how good I can see it in the sky, but it looks good on the ground, so we'll see. But okay, what else did I do? The struts with the flat wing. On my last plane, I put tape across the top and across the bottom of the wing from tip to tip, and removed the need for the struts. I just don't like these struts. They're very flimsy and plasticky, but on this plane, I decided to use the struts. I am going to go back. I saw a gentleman online that had a great recommendation of gluing screws inside the foam coming out to a wing nut that you file down or cut down the wings. But that makes it easy for transport. Quick unscrew, pop it in your car, put it back on when you get in the field, not having to fiddle around with those screws and a screwdriver and so forth. So I'll be doing that, but you can see I had to shorten the struts. What I did is I simply cut the strut, and then where the struts are overlaid, and maybe you can see that level of detail, I went in between with my X-Acto and cut it a 45 and twisted to pull it up like barbs. I put just contact cement on there. I think what I'm using now, and I found to be really good, is these liquid nails. It's called Perfect Glue, and only Home Depot carries it as far as I can tell. Works very good. The tube tends to clog between uses, but you just poke that lump out and you're ready to go again, and it works really well. So I did that, and then I came back and shrink wrapped the over top of that, and I think this is more sturdy than the actual strut itself, so that's going to hold well. Little black marks, but who really cares, right? I did cut my skirts short. I don't think they're going to drag on these wheels. One thing I'm a little disappointed in, I didn't realize these wheels were so skinny, and you can see how much play there is. This thing just goes back and forth, and as I taxied it on the driveway, it was kind of all over the place. I can't say it didn't work, but it just looked a little bit, I don't know, gangly, something. So I may put some washers or just get some different wheels for it at some point. But again, we're just testing here. You can see up underneath the wing, there's my servos, cut-ins for the dowel, for the popsicle sticks are very, very hidden. And another thing I did, you can kind of tell here, I did it on the bottom side of the wing, but it's a little bump. I cut in to add a barbecue stick bamboo skewer underneath this tail fin, stiffen it up a bit. I glued the whole thing down really good with silicone glue, so it's flexible, but it also gives you a really good tight feel and fit. And then I did something that I haven't seen anybody do with this plane, but I learned on my decathlon. I'm going to try and do this one-handed. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this or not. Okay, I'm back, and I've got, what I did was I just shifted my wing back so you could see the idea. The decathlon does not use rubber bands over the top of the wings, so it doesn't have these knobs here. Instead, it has a couple screws that go in back here, and then there are these little pins that were tiny, and I had to find a way of reinforcing that because they kept popping free and the wing would come off. But this, again, bamboo skewers. I put them fairly deep down behind the the windshield area here. Glued them in place with the perfect glue, and then had them drive very carefully up into the wing, so I can remove the wing, slide it off. But I noticed in my my previous hobby Super Cub, I had a camera out here on the wing aiming back at the airplane, and in tight maneuvers, the wing would actually lift up and pull against the rubber bands, and I wanted to kind of get rid of that. This works really, really good. I may even be able to fly just with 2 rubber bands and the strut's the right length. We'll see. But anyway, so I've got, you can kind of see, 2200 cell battery. Again, I have an electronics video, so I won't go into that level of detail. This setup with the brushless motor, it does make the front end a little bit light, so the plane's a little bit tail heavy. What I did here, like in my last plane, I came inside the cowling to toughen it up, and this really works well and prevents cracking. I'm not sure how, but it's like it makes it thicker, I guess. I just lined it with electrical tape all in there, and then right under here is a stack of little, well, I guess 1 inch, 1.5 inch washers to add just under a gram of weight to the nose of the plane. That brought it into really good balance, and we should be ready to fly. So, so that's the Super Cub. I'm trying to think what else I did as far as major changes, and I'm not coming up with anything right off the bat. But you know, really fun, really easy. Didn't require a whole lot of tools. Helped me advance my skills and my confidence with understanding both how the plane works, because I built it, as well as some of the detail and playing around with some of the ideas for modifications that I came up with on my own, just based on my experience. If you're new to the hobby and you've got a Super Cub, fly it like it is and tear it up. You're going to tear it up on your first one. But this is a plane that you can upgrade, get parts for, modify, and it can really grow with you over the years. That's why I'm back to it, and I'm really proud to have this one in my lineup. And I'm flying it. I guess I should just make homage to the old here DX6i, which I've got. I find this works really well with helicopters, airplanes, and so forth. So again, really happy with this one. We'll see how it flies. I'll put together a flight video, and if you have any questions, give me a post.